Welcome to the Grand Prix. Let's get started. What are your thoughts on Aston Martin's recent performances? This is your go-to channel for the quickest updates in Formula One. We have 3 exciting stories for you, so be sure to subscribe and hit the notification button to remain ahead of the pack. After a series of underwhelming races, the team finally seems to have found its footing again following some much-needed upgrades. Their car is showing noticeable improvement, and with that, Fernando Alonso has been back more consistently inside the top 10. The veteran Spaniard has regained some of the confidence that defined his early season form, and it's showing not just in his driving but in his attitude off the track as well. A particularly fun moment took place during the Canadian Grand Prix weekend, where Alonso made a light-hearted bet with a journalist interviewing him. The terms: if Alonso finished on the podium, the journalist would have to grow a mustache just like the one Alonso sports these days. In the end, Alonso crossed the line in 7th place. So the journalist got off the hook for now, but the story didn't end there. After the race, the two renewed the bet, with Alonso confidently doubling down on his odds. The journalist, clearly skeptical, joked that they could keep the bet going until Alonso retires. Alonso, however, had something else in mind. He proposed a clear deadline. The wager now goes through the Dutch Grand Prix, and Alonso says that the British Grand Prix at Silverstone is the race where he really thinks he can finish on the podium again. Although Alonso acknowledged that Aston Martin now has a car that can finish on the podium, he expressed optimism that the team's present development trajectory will enable them to re-enter the race in the upcoming races. Given how fiercely Red Bull, McLaren, and Mercedes have been competing, some would argue that my forecast is too audacious, but Alonso has never shied away from a challenge. If Aston Martin's improvements continue to produce results, it's not impossible that Alonso may sneak back into a podium contention, particularly in mixed weather or on a track that favors the Armored 25 chassis. The upcoming races, particularly those in Silverstone and Zandvoort, will be crucial for the team, whether it succeeds or fails. The lighthearted wager has brought some personality and humor to the paddock, serving as a welcome reminder that despite all the stress, Formula One still has time for enjoyment. Tell us what you think. Will Alonso fulfill his wager and return to the podium in the upcoming 5 races, or is this just another instance of the two-time champion's arrogance? World champion, after months of mixed results and uncertainty surrounding the development of their 2024 car, if Fernando succeeds, we may witness one of the most elegant podium celebrations in recent memory. Share your guesses in the comments section below and keep an eye on it. For at least one weekend, Mercedes seemed to have finally struck gold. The Brackley-based team experienced a dramatic change at the Canadian Grand Prix when George Russell not only won pole position but also put on a strong showing throughout the race, finishing ahead of Max Verstappen and ensuring a long-awaited comeback to the top of the podium. The Mercedes W15 has been notoriously temperamental under the current ground effect regulations. Since the introduction of this aerodynamic concept, the team has experienced flashes of brilliance, followed by deep slumps in performance, often struggling even to score meaningful points. But at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, something was different. Mercedes dominated the weekend from the first free practice sessions through to race day, raising the question, what changed? Team Principal Toto Wolff gave some insight following the race, revealing that the key factor behind the sudden performance boost was a new rear suspension component that the team introduced in Canada. According to Wolff, this suspension upgrade was specifically designed to address a chronic issue that had plagued the team for over a season: overheating in the rear end of the car. This problem had previously led to excessive brake and tire temperatures, which drastically reduced grip, and led to inconsistent race pace, especially on warmer days or on circuits with fast corners. Intriguingly, Wolff acknowledged that the team had hoped for cooler temperatures in Montreal, since they thought the vehicle would perform better in those conditions. However, race day delivered milder temperatures, but the car still outperformed expectations. He clarified that this was because of the improved suspension, which allowed the W15 to run in a much wider thermal window with better cooling and less tire degradation. Both drivers, especially Russell, were able to extract more consistent performance over extended periods of time. It's important to note that the layout of the Canadian Grand Prix track may have contributed to the Mercedes pace being flatter. While this doesn't lessen the success, it does make one wonder if the pace is track-specific or an indication of real growth. The circuit is notorious for its slower, tighter bends and hard braking zones, which covered up some of the car's acknowledged faults in high-speed corners. Despite the remarkable performance in Canada, Wolff remained cautious in his confidence, emphasizing that the squad must determine whether the improvements hold up in other circumstances. The forthcoming Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring will put the car's skills to the test in a more demanding manner. The circuit is more open, faster, and requires more tire management and aerodynamic efficiency from a car. The team stays grounded, and the dominant weekend gave them more confidence, but if the vehicle does well there, Mercedes will have cause to think they've really turned a corner in terms of strategy and mindset. While Verstappen lurked in his mirrors for parts of the race, George Russell's calm and controlled drive in Canada was further evidence of his growing maturity as a driver. Russell never put a wheel wrong, expertly managing the tire's fuel and pace to bring home Mercedes' first win of the year. While Mercedes is aware that consistency is what ultimately determines championship success, they are cautiously optimistic that if further upgrades deliver as expected and reliability holds, they could become regular contenders for podiums and possibly even wins in the second half of the season. This is the kind of performance the team hopes to replicate with greater consistency going forward. The bigger question now is whether this represents a true resurgence for Mercedes or just a high point in an otherwise unpredictable campaign. There is currently a cautious sense of excitement in the Mercedes garage, a belief that they might finally be heading in the right direction. What do you think? Is Mercedes back in the race for victories, or was Canada an anomaly? The Austrian Grand Prix could either validate their new development path or highlight the limitations of a car that still needs refinement. For all the most recent information from the Formula One globe, leave a comment below and continue to follow. Grand Prix, while most drivers utilize the brief break following a race weekend to rest, recuperate, or concentrate on team debriefings. Max Verstappen is already out on the track despite the Canadian Grand Prix having just ended. Just hours after the race in Montreal, Verstappen boarded a flight to Belgium and returned to the cockpit, this time of a GT3 machine rather than a Formula One car. Verstappen seems wired differently, known for his obsession with speed and competition, and he seems incapable of staying away from the wheel for too long. The current world champion went to the storied Spa-Francorchamps track for a private test drive in a GT3 vehicle. According to sources close to the driver, the test was solely a passion project and was not connected to any formal racing commitment or sponsor need. Verstappen only wanted to experience the sensation of speed driving once more, but in a totally different kind of vehicle than his Red Bull RB. Verstappen's long-standing interest in GT3 racing, even though Formula One remains his top priority, has made no secret of his desire to branch out into other categories in the future. This makes it even more intriguing. On Monday afternoon, 20 photos and videos from the circuit started to surface, showing Verstappen suiting up and taking multiple laps around the iconic track. The session was kept low-key with no major media presence or formal press coverage, but the buzz quickly spread among fans and insiders once it became clear who was behind the wheel. Verstappen oversees his own team in the GT3 paddock and has stated on multiple occasions that he hopes to participate in some of those races himself when the rigorous F1 schedule permits. A few months ago, Verstappen caused controversy by setting a new lap record at the Nürburgring Nordschleife during a GT3 test. To avoid attention, he registered as Franz Hermann. But once it was revealed that Verstappen was driving, several competitors questioned the validity of the time and questioned whether the car used in the lap complied with standard GT3 setup regulations. Regardless of the conjecture, the performance further demonstrated Verstappen's skill and passion for racing in all its forms. Verstappen's devotion to racing, be it in simulators, Formula One, or GT3, is more than a quirk, it's a core part of his personality. Colleagues and commentators often point out that while many drivers enjoy racing if you seem to need it the way, Verstappen does racing for him is not just a profession, it's a way of life. His hunger for track time is so intense that even a few days off from the F1 circuit drive him straight to another race car. The test session at Spa might have no championship points on the line, no cameras broadcasting every moment, and no fierce